Alright, welcome back to day 3 of Q1 Week 6. I expect you to die. Today, we're going to first quickly review what we've done so far. So day 1, we modeled and UV'd everything. So let's go ahead and get there, which was easy. We basically just chamfered it. Then we went into the UVing process. We reset the transforms like we always should before every time we unwrap stuff. We finalized pivots, we talked about planar direction names, we went through our basic planar mapping systems, we broke some edges, stitched them back together, and then we packed the UV and exported that UV out for use in Photoshop. Then yesterday, day 2, we went through the DM creation where we actually created the diffuse map. We went ahead and did an overview of Photoshop. We inserted the UV into Photoshop and discussed how that actually sets up our canvas size at a nice 1024 by 1024 ratio. We created a background bucket color, or background tool with the paint bucket. Background color with the paint bucket tool. There I go. Then we talked about the color picker. Then we created our pips. We adjusted rulers and created guidelines. And then we talked about holding shift to actually snap the ruler to a logical number instead of having it like really granular. And then we created the pips, and then we rendered and inserted a cloud layer that was black and white and turned it into a multiply layer. And then we made sure that the layer location was so that the layer basically was a subtle modification over all of the layers that we have so far. Then we saved it for web, we saved the PSD, and then we rendered our image for your mom's fridge. So you can print it out at your printer and show your mama, and she'll be so proud. Alright, now today we're going to be doing dumb stuff. Alright, it's just going to be what I call DM silliness. So our diffuse map, we're going to do some silly stuff. In our case, I'm going to put my face all over the die. Instead of having pips, it's going to be pictures of my pretty face. Alright, so we're going to add faces to the die, and we're going to add the image. We're going to make a folder to keep all the images in a logical place, and then we're going to add some text to the top. And really, adding the images and text are the important thing. So you can make it any image you want. You can even have just like a crappy square picture of you and your family. It doesn't matter, whatever you want. It'll be fine. And then we're going to update it and render that out. So then when you bring it home to your mom for the fridge, she's going to be like, okay, what is this? Alright, so let's go ahead and go back to Photoshop. This is where we left off in Photoshop. We probably had our dye UV hidden, so we're going to make sure that's, at this point it doesn't matter. We can leave it hidden for now since we're not really going to need it because we're not going to be adjusting anything. So we're going to go into a folder where you will find your picture. My picture is actually here. Yeah, that's awesome. Alright, I'm just going to drag it right into the work area. You see my big ugly mug. So holding shift, I'm going to shrink it down till it's about the size of a pip. I'm going to zoom in holding alt, middle mouse button. Oh, I have to hit enter to place it. Notice it automatically created a new layer. So hold alt and zoom in. I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to make sure that layer is selected. And then I'm going to also make sure I have this select tool up here, the select and move. When I do that, it'll allow me to move this around. I'm going to hold shift and shrink this down until it's just big enough to cover a pip. Just big enough to cover a pip. There, close enough. Alright, great. I hit enter to place it. Now, I'm going to create a bunch of these things, right? 21 to be exact. So I need to be able to grab them and move them around and keep them in a logical way. So the way we do that in Photoshop, well, I could just create a bunch, like copy and paste onto the same layer, but then it becomes a pain. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a folder and put all of these pictures in one folder. Okay? Now, there may be better ways to do this, but as I said before, I'm not like super Photoshop guy, and I'm just trying to get you the basics. So I'm going to create a folder. So today we're going to focus on learning how to create a folder. So down here next to the Layers tab is a folder button. And that creates a group. They call it groups, I guess. I call them folders because they look like a folder. Now I'm going to grab my mug HQ. I'm going to grab that, click with my left mouse button, and then drag it. So I'm going to let go on top of group 1. Now you can rename this from group 1 to faces. Alright. And now I've got a folder that I can adjust. Now, in my mug high quality, I can actually right click on that particular layer and duplicate the layer. Click OK. And now I can take that image and move it over to another pip. Okay? Great. So now I've got two of these images inside the faces folder, which I can minimize so it's not taking up all my space. I can also hide it with the eyeball tool. Alright? So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my faces folder, click the next, click the top one, and duplicate that layer. Click OK. Click on the layer I had and drag it over the other pip. Alright. Once again, I'm not really concerned if it's 100% perfect. We're just going for a general area. I'm also going to turn on the UV so I know if my face is going to go over the edge there. So I'm going to click this again, right click, duplicate layer, OK. Click and drag over. Right? Done. Great. Same thing, right click, duplicate layer, click OK, drag it up. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Now I can actually do more than one at a time. So I can grab these top four by holding shift, clicking 4, and then clicking copy. I can grab them all and right click, duplicate layers, click OK. I'm going to move them up here so that they're already roughly in the right spot. Right? And then I can grab one of these, the top one. I grabbed 8, right click, duplicate layer, OK, drag it down the center. Now, if I'm not covering up the pips, it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't going to matter because ultimately I'm going to hide the pips. Okay? For now, I like them as a guideline to make sure I don't put things in the wrong spot. Alright, now I can grab that face, and okay, so 6, 8, and 9. I'm going to right click, duplicate layers, click OK. I'm going to drag them down here. Alright, that's cool. Now I'm going to grab 11 and 10 for me. Right click, duplicate layers, click OK, and drag them. Whoops, undo. I grabbed that center pivot point. I don't want that. Grab somewhere in this area, drag it down, and I'm going to move it over the 2. Alright, I can rotate them a little bit if I want. I probably shouldn't. Alright, moving down. Now let's go ahead and find, I think, hit enter to finalize that. Hit okay, so where are my faces? 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so copy 2, 3, and 4 are my ones up here. So I'm going to copy those 4 again. Right click, duplicate layers, click OK. I want to move them down to there. Alright, you'll notice I've got 18, 17, all this stuff. 18, 17, I'm going to move up a little bit. 16, I'll probably have to move up maybe a little more. Notice I'm getting these guidelines. They're really nice, but also they can be a pain, so make sure you're moving them exactly as much as you need to. I'm going to grab 16 and 17. These are my last two duplicates. Click OK, just like we did before, and drag them down to there. Alright, that is pretty hideous. I think I'm proud of it. Alright, cool. So, there we go. Now, I can go ahead and close this folder, and this faces can be moved underneath the clouds. So now you can see the clouds cover up, and I get a little bit of clouding over everything. And I'm going to turn off my pips by clicking that button there. And I should have... Oh no, my pips were wrong. I forgot to move. You can see what happened. I must have clicked my color at some point because the pips got placed onto the color. Well, we can fix that. Under the color, what we need to do now is go ahead and turn off our clouds. Alright, we're going to hold, click on your paintbrush over here, hold the Alt button and click right there. Alright, what that does is it creates an eyedropper tool. Alright, and now what we can do is hit our right curly bracket so it's nice and big. I'm just going to paint over all of them. Alright, so that mistake is now fixed. Our pips is basically useless, but at least that's fixed. So we've got that all placed together. So we fixed that problem, turn our clouds back on, and now we're ready to go. That part's finished. Now, text. The next part is we're going to create a text layer. So go ahead and click this T button right here. Make sure we're at a low number, like 6 up here in your text area. Zoom in, and we're just going to put it on the top. I'm just going to highlight, left click and create a box. And then you see the text is blinking up there. It's really small. It's going to start out at whatever color is up here. It probably is your foreground color to start, so I can click this and change it to black so I can see it. And then I'm just going to call this Donnin's Die. Alright? Cool. Now, I'm going to highlight all of that and bump it up to a higher number until I'm happy with it. You can actually left click and drag on this until it's exactly as big as you want it. There, that looks good. Now you can change it to whatever font you want. People love Comic Sans, so I think that would make the most sense here. Don't you? I knew you would. Where did it go? Oh, I can't find it. Maybe if I did type. Oh, I think it does have Comic Sans. Yeah, everybody's favorite. All right, great. So this is great. Now what I can also do with this is I can actually go into the text format, click on this, and I can actually adjust it. So I can, oh yes, it's going to say, you got to turn off faux bold. I'm going to arc this around like that a little bit, and you can adjust how much it's arcing like this. And we can bring it, change that if we wanted to. Hit 0 there and click OK. Now I'm going to move it down so it fits. Right. And then I'm also going to shrink it in. Hold Control. I'm going to hold Shift as I move it over. I'm going to move it back there. See? I'm just trolling the internet right now. All right, great. So I made an arc to this, which is fantastic. And so we've created text. Now the text layer should probably be below the clouds. So we need to hit enter to finalize and drag it below the clouds. And there we go. Our new stupid ugly die is basically finished. Alright. All I need to do is turn off the UV and save it. File. Save for web. And it's 1024. Just for giggles, I'll change it to 512. Notice it's locked, so 512 by 512. Once again, binary is where we want to stay, and it has to be square, so it has to be the same. So hit save, and I'm going to call this die 2 DM. Hit save. All right, we did that. Now I can pull up my file here. Now I'm going to go hit my material editor. And I'm going to find my silly image, which is not that one. My current one, which is here. I'm going to drag it into my third tool there, and third swatch. Drag it over. And some of that's upside down because I'm on the other edge, but that's okay. Notice the pixelation, how it's a little bit blurry. That's okay. I liked the glossiness before, which was 130.01. So let's go with 100. Same thing. 30. There we go. And now I'm just going to rotate around like that. Yeah, that's ugly. Change it so we see it. Now you see the pixelation. If you wanted to, and I kind of do, I want to go back into Photoshop just to show you the difference. I'm going to save it out for web at 1024 by 1024, and you're going to see the difference in the resolution. Replace, and in Photoshop, see, it just snaps into much higher resolution, which is nice. Once again, your mom wants to see your face, so you might as well get that set up right. Then hit render, production. There you go, so pretty. Then you can save it. We'll call it die 3 TN. and it's a PNG because I clicked on the other one. I changed the name, and that's it. Now we did our silliness. We learned a little bit about text. We learned a little bit about manipulating images and then creating folders in Photoshop. So I think that's basically it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If later on, if you want to go on and do some more fun stuff, we're down to silliness. If you want to continue, you can add a casino logo, so you can create like a whole casino logo. You can make an n-sided die, so you change the 6-sided to like a 4-sided, which is a tetrahedron, or a 12-sided, which is dodecahedron, or an icosahedron. For those of you who are into rolling 20s while you play D&D, there you go. Try and do something different. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.